Okay. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. I am your lovable host, Mangg. Today we're playing some Last of Us Remastered on PS4. PS4 Pro, in fact. And I'm right in the middle of the whole Bill trap scene, so it's probably going to be pretty loud. I've just been playing this, and so I figured, what the hell, but yeah, it's probably going to be kind of loud.
What just happened?
Let me adjust it.
Another one of Bill's stupid traps.
Anyways,
There, that fridge, it looks like
try
that's a
to
counterweight.
talk over all of it. Spoilers, if you've never played The Last of Us.
Cut that rope, and it'll bring me down.
On it!
So recently, I got a new tablet. It's like a Samsung 10-inch tablet. It's very nice.
Shit, here they come.
And I got it to read comic books. Because there's a lot of comic books I want to read, and I figured that was just the best way to do it. And so,
Just hand to the rope. Ellie, how's it looking?
there's this service called Marvel Unlimited.
Good time, Ellie.
Hold on.
That it's okay, good. Sounds good. It's like $10 a month,
All right?
Yeah.
Come on,
but you
do
can pay annually for $70 a year, which is what I did. And you get access to like every
Damn it.
Marvel comic book ever.
Come on.
But it's like 6 months.
Ellie, they're getting just hurt.
It's like 6 months behind, so you don't get the brand new stuff until 6 months later. But god damn it, everything else, I mean, you get some old shit.
Get the fuck off of me!
And so I've really been into reading Hulk comics.
Ellie, they're getting close. Hell off, or you son of a bitch.
Aside from the Flash, the Hulk is probably my second favorite comic book character. And so I've just been going from, like, you know, his first appearance, his first comic book in the early 60s. And I've just been going through and reading all of the Hulk comics. And I've really been enjoying it. I mean, obviously the really old stuff is pretty damn corny. The dialogue is is pretty ridiculous sometimes. And the action, you know, the plots and stuff is just kind of ridiculous. But it's like, you know, the Earth can be invaded by aliens on page 15, but by page 24, it's all wrapped up and finished.
Come on, Ellie.
But as time goes on, there's definitely, you know, some lengthier arcs that occur over multiple issues. And it's just really been interesting to see the development
Bill, they're coming to the door.
of a character from
Ellie, stay
the
back.
earliest
Stay back.
days. God damn. You know, the Hulk in his first appearance was gray, which I think is sort of a commonly known trivia at this point. But there's, you know, you definitely learn some stuff that is not that widely known. The Hulk was not really based around anger and rage. at the start. Like at the start, he transformed into the Hulk every night, and he transformed back into Bruce Banner in the morning. That was only for like a couple issues, and then he could transform into the Hulk anytime he was hit by gamma rays.
God damn it, they're coming over.
So he had this machine that he stepped on to become the Hulk, and then he stepped back onto it to become Bruce Banner.
It's open, come on.
And then finally we get to the point where he transforms into the Hulk whenever like he gets excited. But they use like the word whenever he gets really worried and his pulse rate goes up or something like this. His blood pressure goes up, which is getting there. It's getting pretty close.
Ellie. Hey, what are you... Joel?
But then he also transforms back into Bruce Banner whenever he gets really excited, which for the Hulk is pretty common. So like for a number of issues, like every time he was in a climactic fight, like right at the peak of it, he would change back into Bruce Banner because he got so excited. So that was kind of weird. And then at one point, Bruce Banner gets shot in the head.
You come into my house. You set off all my
He takes a bullet to the dome, like no joke. A doctor says he's
Who the
dead.
fuck is this punk and what's she doing here?
I am none of your goddamn business.
But
We're
his
here to do
buddy,
Joel some favors.
his buddy
It
takes him to the
starts
gamma
taking these
machine
off.
I owe Joel
and
some
pumps him with
favors.
gamma radiation. So he turns into the Hulk even though he's dead.
I need
And of course the Hulk doesn't care about a bullet in his head.
It's a car.
But actually that begins a very long stretch,
What makes
like
you think I just give it to you?
dozens of issues, where he never turns back into Bruce Banner again.
Take all my food too while you're at it.
He
But it
stays
looks
the
like we
Hulk
could lose some
for
of
a
that
long
Listen to me,
time.
you little
No,
shit.
fuck you. You handcuffed
I
me.
need you to shut up. All right.
Whatever.
At
favors you
first,
think
because
I owe
he
you.
doesn't want to turn back into Bruce Banner because
They are.
there's a bullet in his head.
Well, it don't
So if
matter
he
'cause I
turns
don't know
back,
how
he
the car
dies.
works.
But there
And
is
it
one
would,
in this
you know,
town.
Parts.
Okay.
There are parts. in
But
this
then
room.
eventually
you
somebody
could
takes the
fix
bullet
one
out
up.
for him while he's in the Hulk form. And then he just doesn't turn back into Bruce Banner because he just likes being the
All right.
Hulk.
If I'm gonna do this, there's some gear I'm gonna need.
And they're two
It's on the
very
outside of
separate
town.
identities early on.
You help me
Like
go
the Hulk
gather
doesn't
it.
even realize that
And maybe
he
I
is
can put
Bruce
something
Banner.
together that runs.
He has no knowledge of Bruce Banner, pretty much.
After
Like,
this, I owe
like
you
the
nothing.
only thing he knows about Bruce Banner is that he hates him.
That's fine.
And that's it.
A couple days.
And the Hulk is actually very villainous early on.
Good.
Like he very
Follow me.
blatantly says he wants to destroy all humanity.
Stay
And
right on my ass.
he just tends to be. He pops up as a villain for quite a while. But then he starts sort of his emo
Whatever
phase
supplies you may want or
because
need,
it
I
just
suggest
you know
we
every
grab.
time he
Hey, thank you.
meets anybody else, they just want to fight him
We can use.
because they think he's like a monster, which he tends to be. And so he starts his emo phase where he's like, "Oh, humanity hates me, and I hate humanity. Nobody likes me," and yeah, so it's kind of odd. But yeah, the original stint of the Hulk, he had his own series, but it only lasted 6 issues. Due to lack of popularity, apparently. And so he popped up a few places here and there. He was actually part of the original group of the Avengers. It was the Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. That was the original Avengers. But the Hulk was only part of the Avengers for 2 issues. And then he basically said, "Fuck you guys, you don't like me," and so he left.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
He showed up in the 3rd issue, but again in sort of a villainous role.
What kind of trouble are you in? Where the hell's Tess?
And so he popped up in like a Spider-Man comic and some other stuff, and then a Fantastic Four. He was popped up in there,
Fuck you too.
and then he joined up in Tales to Astonish, which was originally just Ant-Man or Giant Man,
Where are we
really.
going, Bill?
My other safe house.
And so it was like a double feature,
More of an
where half the comic book
Wait,
was
I
Giant
thought we were
Man
gonna
and
fix
half
it
the
with
comic
the
was
We?
the Hulk.
Bill.
I don't know,
It's like I said,
15, 20
on
issues.
the other side of town.
And then they decided, okay, nobody fucking likes Giant Man, so nix him. Actually, I don't know. He might have gotten his own series at that point. I don't remember. But he left Tales to Astonish, and he got replaced by the Submariner, who people care about even less. When do you ever hear about the Submariner? And so I'm in the midst of Tales to Astonish right now. I'm on, like, number 87 or 88. But at Tales to Astonish number 102, that is when Tales to Astonish becomes the new Incredible Hulk series. And so they just rename it to the Incredible Hulk. And that series goes on for decades. But it's been very interesting. In the early days of these comics, like, characters' powers just vary drastically. You know, as I talked about, his transformation was all over the place. Early on, there's an issue where he literally can fly. Like, no joke, the Hulk fucking flies. I mean, he jumps, but during the jump, he does acrobatic movements. Like, he goes, like, he moves horizontally, and then he'll go up without hitting the ground. Like, he's fucking, he's flying, man. He's flying. And they called it flying. But then in the very next issue, they're like, he jumps as though he's flying, but he's not flying, he's jumping. And so from then on, it became much more akin to just jumping. But pretty much every single issue from then on, whenever he jumps, they make it very clear that using the most powerful leg muscles on Earth, the Hulk leaps into the sky as though he is flying. But yeah, it becomes a lot more just jumping from place to place. But there is one issue. It's so fucking bullshit. I don't even know what Stan Lee was thinking, and there's a lot of things to say about Stan Lee.
So,
but
why don't you fix these cars?
Oh my god, you're a genius.
Okay. At one point, he's fighting, I don't remember who he's fighting, but he's fighting on a bridge. And he gets, like, kicked over the bridge. Okay? He's falling off the bridge. And you think, okay, he falls into the water, whatever, that's the Hulk. But no. I should find, like, the specific quote here. But basically, it's like, using his incredible muscles and supernatural power of will, the Hulk leaps back up onto the bridge in midair. And literally, it shows him falling and then just jumping back up onto the bridge while midair, while falling. I don't know what process of using your muscles allows you to defy the forces of gravity in that way. They never did that again. It's so utterly ridiculous. I don't know how that cleared anything, but there's another part where he does jump out of water. Like, he's in the ocean, and he just jumps off of the water and flies off into the air, which I guess is a similar ridiculous process. And at one point, Stan Lee forgets the character's name. He starts calling him Bob Banner for a whole issue. Multiple times calls him Bob Banner. He forgot the character's name. And so the next issue, and for many issues after that, they had to make a very clear point of anytime they mentioned Banner's name, they called him Dr. Robert Bruce Banner. Because to sort of retcon this foolish mistake from Stan Lee. But then, after a dozen issues of that, they just call him Bruce Banner again and just try and forget the whole thing. But I think canonically his name is Robert Bruce Banner because of that.
Okay, don't be a...
Yeah, so it's...
Are you done?
It's been an interesting process. So I'm enjoying it more just from like a historical perspective of learning about the character. Learning his origins and these early phases rather than these comics are really good. I'm fucking dying. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the later comics when it starts to actually get serious. But the problem with that is I think it starts to sort of get ridiculous. Like, with all the crossovers, all the different comic books you have to read to follow these different plot lines and things like that. I think it gets a lot trickier. You have to read a lot more. Whereas with the early stuff, it's pretty much just a straight line. Occasionally, he'll do like the Hulk will do a crossover with Spider-Man, and they'll mention it the next time you meet Spider-Man. But there's no like big plots to follow or anything like that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to rag on Stan Lee too much because he did. I mean, he created a lot of legendary characters. But the impression that I get from reading these early comics, and Marvel was not like their first company. Marvel was like the third name or whatever for their comic book company. They'd been doing it since the 40s or something like that. Like Atlas Comics preceded that. But the impression that I get overall is just like not incredibly professional, and more just like a bunch of young guys having fun. You know, they're just coming up with these crazy characters, crazy plot lines, and they're just sort of winging the whole thing. And you know, you read these early comics, and there's typos here and there. Continuity is not that important, and they're just sort of having fun with the whole process.
You picked a hell of a place to hole up, didn't you?
You know, as bad as those things.
But I mean, for $70 a year for Marvel Unlimited, I feel like I've already gotten my money's worth.
You of all people should understand that.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
Anyways, I just wanted to talk about the Hulk for a little while.
You sure that gate's gonna hold him?
Well, I locked it. They don't have a key.
This kind of makes me want to get like a poster of some old school Hulk
It's in the cellar.
comic pages. That would be pretty badass. There are some cool frames from some old comic books. Because the Hulk's depiction, his image, has not changed almost at all in many decades. You know, like right at the start he was gray.
You don't touch anything.
But then right after that he became green, purple shorts, and that was it for many decades. So he looks pretty cool sometimes. Although, really, he only looks cool most of the time when it's not looking at his face. They really were just not too sure how to draw the Hulk's face to look menacing. So he looks like he has Down syndrome many times.
It's fine. Just wait around.
Which maybe that's what they were going for, but...
Well, this goes on record as the worst fucking job you've ever taken.
Who's to say?
Up there.
How in the hell is Tess okay with this suicide mission?
Anyways.
Her idea.
Alright, so this week on this channel we had some SWAT
Broad's not as smart as I
4.
thought she was.
which has been fun. More Final Fantasy VIII.
Seriously, you gotta take that kid
And
I can't just
that'll
take her
pretty
back.
much continue.
Send her back
The only
and let her
game that I
find
was
her own
looking
way.
at possibly doing
tell you a
is
story. Once upon a time,
Vampire? Vampire? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
somebody I had to look
I'm gonna
at.
say vampire, whatever.
And in this world,
Seems
that
like
sort of
it could be
shit's
good,
for
but
one
these
thing.
review embargoes are
killed.
just insane.
So you know what I did?
I mean, this game comes
Wise
out
and
in
fucked
2
up.
days. It's just
I
like
realize it's
Detroit
gotta be
all
just
over
me.
again, and
Bill, it
that
ain't
game
like
turned out
that.
to be reviewed
Bullshit.
kind of well, but
It is just like.
I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, what I said to you when we walked down the steps?
So I might cut
What'd I
SWAT
say?
4 short
Fixing your stupid pile.
Don't.
if Vampire turns out to be reviewed pretty well. We'll
God
see.
Damn it. You keep babysitting long enough, and eventually it's gonna
Um,
blow up in
Bill.
your face.
Can we please just get on with it?
On the other channel, the Exploring series,
Let's get
we
on with
had... What the hell did I upload? Dogda? Was that last Monday? It seemed ages ago I worked on that.
Before we go any further, I got something I gotta show you.
What you got?
Must have been.
New toy from the toy box.
This week I worked on the Han Solo video. You know, I was committed to doing that months ago, and I'm gonna do a Han Solo video for when Solo comes out. And so I was committed to it. I did it. It just is a bummer that Solo turned out to be kind of a flop. I mean, not even critically. It's just not that many people went to see it compared to a normal Star Wars movie. Which means not that many people are interested in learning about Han Solo and looking up videos on Han Solo at this moment, which is sort of what I bank on. But I was committed to doing it. I did it. And I was also committed to doing it using canon information. Which is also a bummer because the new canon kind of sucks. You know, before I was sort of apologetic of it. But with Solo... Yeah. Hard to say. So it ended up being a super long video, about 16 minutes long, which is massive for an exploring video. But, you know, it's a character with 40-some years of history. And I think it turned out okay. There's obviously a lot of good artwork. But in the end, it kind of was just a recap of all the movies. Which is not ideal, but oh well. And so this week I think I'm working on the Morrigan video for Celtic mythology. There'll be another Celtic mythology video. And for when I'm going on vacation coming up, I'll have a video, hopefully, on the wheel, the towers, and Kim for Elder Scrolls, which is something I was debating about doing a while back. I wasn't sure if I could actually do it, but I figure I'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. There we go. So, yeah, that'll be that. There, of course, was the other video that popped up on the channel this week. The mysterious video. Which was received... it was received potentially better than the first one, but got a lot less views than the first one because I think the first one was just really mysterious. Whereas now a bunch of people are like, oh, I'm not interested in that. And I think overall that whole thing is going to get not many views. But, you know, if I was doing that as my main series, I'd be concerned at this point.
Yeah, I've seen your handiwork.
But since it doesn't really affect any other series, it's just for fun, then, you know, it's just for fun. I get to have fun doing it. What do I care?
So we got shotguns and bombs. The hell are we doing with them?
Well, every few weeks, this military caravan rides through town.
So, yeah, this week I'll put out a video sort of explaining some of the things going on with that.
Anyway, a few months back,
and
they get overrun by this horde of infected.
See where it goes.
All over the truck. The plow's right in the side of the high school. Still sitting there with a battery in it.
So we take that battery and we put it in another car.
Bingo. I wanted to get it, but it seemed too dangerous with all the infected.
Yeah, I guess that's that.
Fuck it. Joel needs a car.
Hey, what if it's damaged?
So I actually played a few games of Netrunner this week. I felt the itch for some Netrunner. And, yeah, it's still fantastic. Still the best card game ever invented, as far as I know.
Time to sack up.
So that's been good. I'm trying to get Ziggy into it someday. Someday someone else will play Netrunner. I said that it's really like one of the only things that I would potentially give up an RPG night for. It's just like a tournament of Netrunner. Because that would be good. That would be good.
Yeah, come
on. They came out with a new revised core set, which is out of stock at this point.
Ready?
I don't even know if I would buy it, but I might. I might. And they're still just they're coming out with a new deluxe expansion, big box expansion. So yeah, Netrunner is not going anywhere.
Yeah,
there are so many freaking cards for that game.
I've seen worse.
I own like a fourth of the cards, maybe.
Past this gate, it's all new territory to me.
But, you know, I only ever get to play with like the core set cards anyways, so it's not that big of a deal.
Hey, you guys hear that?
Keep quiet.
Okay, we just gotta get a good shot here. Oh shit. Okay, good shot.
Keep doing it like that.
We didn't have any Godbound this week, so that'll have to pick up next time. Not much to say about that. I'm never gonna land this shot. They move very unpredictably. Oh, nice. Yeah. When I don't have an RPG to discuss, these hanging with Mangs tend to be very short. Not much else to say, I suppose. Because I didn't see a movie this week either. So I guess that's kind of it. God damn it. Look at him. Come on. That doesn't do much. Eat lead. I think it's better off if I die. Anyways, I guess that's about it. You know, last week I think we had like an hour and 20-minute hang with Mangg, so I'll balance it out this week. At least I got to discuss the Hulk. My mom was like, why don't you do a Marvel exploring series? Why don't you do a Marvel one? Like, even if you know, people don't vote for it, just don't do the vote this time. Just do a Marvel series. Even I'm interested in a Marvel series. And I'm like, no one ever even mentions it. You know, I get comments all the time about people requesting series. I don't know if I've ever gotten one asking for Marvel or DC. I just don't know if people care about it, which is interesting since the movies are such a big deal. And I know there are plenty of other channels that do Marvel, but there's plenty of other channels that do everything. Like, there's no series I've done that somebody else has not already done. I mean, it may, like, Cthulhu Mythos was sort of fringe. But even then, I was literally just looking at other people's videos and thinking I could do better. Yeah, I have put it as a polling option. Yeah. I think the first couple polls, I think I put Marvel in there at the start. It really just doesn't go far. And it wouldn't be the easiest series to do. You know, you're discussing characters that have 40-year history, 50-year history, 60-year histories. With so many different interpretations, different changes. It would be tricky. It would definitely be something I'd be interested in doing. I'd be excited about doing. And maybe there would be an audience that's just not a part of my current audience. But the reason that I do the polls is partly so I don't have to be like, oh, so I don't have to deal with all these suggestions for series constantly. Oh, why didn't you do this one? Why didn't you do this one? I can say, well, just look at the polls. That's what won. But also because I can sort of ride the wave of my current audience. So I can see what my current audience is interested in and expand to new territory while also retaining a lot of my current audience because that's what they voted on. So for me to just say, well, screw that, I'm going to go with something that none of you are interested in, that's dangerous. I could alienate most of my audience. It's not like people are not aware of Marvel. You know, it's one of the biggest fictional properties in history. It must be that they're just more interested in stuff like Celtic mythology than Captain America. I think in time, you know, once I'm hoping to do this for years. So in time, it's going to be a choice between the one guy that keeps requesting Bionicle or me doing Marvel. And I'm probably going to go with Marvel. So eventually I'll get to it, but there just doesn't seem to be a big rush. Yeah, anyways. So check out the Han Solo video tomorrow if you're interested in some Star Wars. It does spoil the Solo movie, if that concerns you. Probably not. And maybe you'll see some vampire videos this week. Maybe not. It's a game that could be really shit, so who knows. But hopefully we do get some Godbound action this week. But alright. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.